Hello, my name is Darkmoon Doll, and on Thursdays I do this show called Spirituality Talk. Spirituality Talk is a show where I share with you my personal experiences on this spiritual life path, which includes so many different things. Like, for instance, the spiritual purpose behind the holiday we know as Christmas. I talk about all kinds of things, the spiritual nature. It can be paranormal, extraterrestrial, supernatural, past lives, you have it. And this is all discussed on this show called Spirituality Talk. So today I want to talk to you guys, since it's like the Christmas season and everybody gets all I don't know how can I say this without being offensive. It seems like people get so wrapped into this idea of getting the perfect gift for the perfect person, and and just stressing yourself out beyond belief. I wanted to share with you guys. Let me grab it and grab my notes. I finally got a nice printer and I was able to print out some notes instead of having to write them down. But what I wanted to talk to you about is this might be controversial for you guys out there. If you're so into the basic belief of Santa Claus and and just doing that kind of traditional thing you do every year with putting presents under the tree for your friends and family and children and and all that, have you ever thought about where this whole tradition started? The Santa Claus thing, it began it began a very long time ago. Now I've watched documentaries about this, and I recently looked up some information about what I'm about to talk about. So without further ado, I want to talk to you about Santa Claus and the magic mushroom. So I looked this up online, and it was what website was it? Let's see. Let me make sure I get the right website. Let's see. That's not it. Let's see. Well, you can look it up online, and it'll be under 8 Ways Magic Mushrooms Explain Santa Story. So I'm going to read this to you guys, and you can tell me what you think of it in the comments below. I've got many thoughts on it, and a lot of them are positive. So, the story of Santa and his flying reindeer can be traced to an unlikely source: hallucinogenic or magic mushrooms, according to one theory. Santa is a modern counterpart of a shaman who consumed mind-altering plants and fungi, however you want to pronounce it, to commune with the spirit world, said John Rush, an anthropologist and instructor at Sierra College in Rockland, California. I guess you can look up John Rush because he's an anthropologist. And anthropologists usually break things down and really do their research. So I feel like that's a reliable source for the most part. I mean, the more reliable source is the actual indigenous peoples. So here are 8 ways that hallucinogenic mushrooms explain the story of Santa and his reindeer. Arctic shamans gave out mushrooms on the Winter Solstice. According to the theory, the legend of Santa derives from shamans in Siberian and Arctic regions who dropped into local teepee-like homes with a bag full of hallucinogenic mushrooms as presents in late December. As the story goes, up until a few hundred years ago, these practicing shamans or priests connected to the older traditions would collect Amanita Muscaria, the holy mushroom, dry them, and then give them as gifts on the winter solstice. So, okay, this is Live Science website. That's the name of it. Or Live Science is the name of the website. Because snow is usually blocking doors, there was an opening in the roof through which people entered and exited, thus the Chimney Story. Yeah, I mean, it gives you something to think about whether you believe it or not. So number 2, mushrooms, like gifts, are found beneath pine trees. The Amanita muscaria, which is deep red with white flakes. The Amanita muscaria mushroom is deep red with white flakes, yeah. That's just one of the symbolic connections between the Amanita mushroom and the iconography of Christmas. According to several historians and ethnomycologists, or people who study fungi's influence on human societies. That's what a ethnomycologist is, if nobody knew that. You learn something new every day. Of course, not all scientists agree that the Santa story is tied to a hallucinogen. Of course, the scientists. So they give a reference of a book called Trippy Tales, History of Magic Mushrooms and Other Hallucinogens. In his book, Mushrooms and Mankind, the Book Tree, 2003, the late author James Arthur points out that Amanita muscaria, also known as fly agaric, lives throughout the northern hemisphere under conifers and birch trees, with which the fungi, which are deep red with white flakes, have a symbolic relationship. This partially explained the practice of the Christmas tree and the placement of bright red and white presents underneath it. And the placement of bright red and white presents underneath it, which look like Amanita mushrooms, he wrote. Very interesting. Why do people bring pine trees into their houses at the winter solstice, placing bright colored red and white packages under their boughs as gifts to show their love for each other, he wrote. It is because underneath the pine bough is the exact location where one would find this most sacred substance, the Amanita muscaria, in the wild. Oh yeah, he's all, no, do not eat mushrooms, as they can be poisonous. Yeah, don't just, you know that. I don't need to tell anybody that here on this channel. Reindeer were shaman spirit animals. Reindeer are common in Siberia and northern Europe and seek out these hallucinogenic fungi, and the areas human inhabitants have also been known to do. Donald Pfister, a Harvard University biologist who studies fungi, suggests that Siberian tribesmen who ingested fly agaric may have hallucinated that the grazing reindeer were flying. That's something to think about. At first glance, one thinks it's ridiculous, but it's not, said Carl Ruck, a professor of classics at Boston University. However, whoever heard of a reindeer flying? I think it's becoming general knowledge that Santa is taking a trip with his reindeer. Amongst the Siberian shamans, you have an animal spirit you can journey with in your vision quest, Ruck continued, and reindeer are common and familiar to people in Eastern Siberia. Sorry. Number 4, shamans dress like Santa Claus. These shamans also have a tradition of dressing up like the mushroom. They dress up in red suits with white spots. And number 5, mushrooms bound in Christmas iconography. Tree ornaments shaped like Amanita mushrooms and other depictions of the fungi are also prevalent in Christmas decorations throughout the world, particularly in Scandinavia and Northern Europe. Pfister pointed out that, okay, my other notes here. This is really interesting to me. I don't know if it's interesting to you, but it's fascinating to me. He's saying that there's a clear connection between modern-day Christmas and the ancestral practice of eating mushrooms is a coincidence, and he doesn't know about any direct link. So number 6, Rudolph's nose resembles a bright red mushroom. Ruck points to Rudolph as another example of the mushroom imagery resurfacing. His nose looks exactly like a red mushroom. It's amazing that a reindeer with a red mushroom nose is at the head, leading the others, he said. Many of these traditions were merged or projected upon St. Nicholas, a 4th century saint known for his generosity, as the story goes. There is little debate about the consumption of mushrooms by Arctic and Siberian tribespeople and shamans, but the connection to Christmas traditions is more tenuous or mysterious. And then number 7, a visit from St. Nicholas may have borrowed from shaman rituals. Many of the modern details of the modern-day American Santa Claus come from the 1823 poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas, which later became famous as the 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. A lot of people know that. The poem is credited to Clement Clark Moore, an aristocratic academic who lived in New York City. The origins of Moore's vision are unclear, although Arthur, Rush, and Ruck all think the poet probably drew from Northern European motifs that derive from Siberian or Arctic shamanic traditions. At the very least, Arthur wrote, Santa's sleigh and reindeer are probably references to various related Northern European mythology. For example, the Norse god Thor, known in German as Donner, flew in a chariot drawn by 2 goats, which have been replaced in the modern retelling by Santa's reindeer. Arthur wrote, reindeer which aren't usually known to fly, reindeer which aren't usually known to fly. Other historians were unaware of a connection between Santa and shamans or magic mushrooms, including Stephen Nessenbaum, who wrote a book about the origins of Christmas traditions, and Penn Restad of the University of Texas at Austin, both of whom were contacted by Live Science. So, number 8. Santa is from the Arctic. One historian, Ronald Hutton, told NPR that the theory of a mushroom Santa connection is flawed. If you look at the evidence of Siberian shamanism, which I've done, Hutton said, you find that shamans didn't travel by sleigh, didn't usually deal with reindeer spirits, very rarely took the mushrooms to get trances, didn't have red and white clothes. Interesting. But Rush and Ruck disagree, saying shamans did deal with reindeer spirits, and the ingestion of mushrooms is well documented. Siberian shamans did wear red deer pelts, but the coloring of Santa's garb is mainly meant to mirror the coloring of Amanita mushrooms, Rush added. As for sleighs, the point isn't the exact mode of travel, but that the trip involves transportation to a different celestial realm, Rush said. Sometimes people would also drink the urine of the shaman or the reindeer, as the hallucinogenic compounds are excreted this way, without some of the harmful chemical present in the fungi, which are broken down by the shaman or the reindeer. People who know about shamanism accept this story, Ruck said. Is there any other reason that Santa lives in the North Pole? It is a tradition that can be traced back to Siberia. So yeah, what do you guys think about that? I think it's fascinating because I think there's so many plant materials out there that were put on this earth in order to help people grow and learn more about themselves and to find their purpose here on earth. I have 3 books that are about that such thing. And that's why I'm kind of cynical about the Christmas season, and I'm more apt to want to celebrate Winter Solstice. For me, Winter Solstice really it marks winter, that time of the year. You know, leaves are all dried up. You know, you've got all of your herbs and foods, you know, vegetables stored. So, and you have a great time of, I know at least for me during this time period, I have to slow down because I feel like I have to go so fast, but this time of the season makes me slow down. The rain, it's a little colder, and I just have to like really be introspective in this you know, time of the year. And I don't like being bombarded by all this false, I don't know, this is false advertisement, cheesy, Christmassy, get all the gifts you can kind of mood. So this is one book that really brought home what I was, well, they didn't talk specifically about the correlation between Santa Claus and Amanita mushrooms, but this guy, Terence McKenna, I've talked about him before on this channel. I have actually 4 in total of his books. I only find 3. This one was eye-opening. Food of the Gods. I've never tried magic mushrooms, psilocybin, amanitas, or anything like that. I was offered it a long time ago, but I declined it at the time because I wanted to learn more about this mushroom. And this book pretty much told me everything that I needed to know about the effects and how it can, what some people experience from it. And it seems like a lot of people have similar experiences from ingesting this magic mushroom. I'm not saying to go out and get some because they're not legal here, I don't believe. In the Amazon, there's certain places where you can ingest them and they're allowed to use it within their spiritual practices. I think that should be allowed worldwide. It's just you can't really control what someone's going to do. I'm not saying you have the magic mushrooms available in grocery stores or anything like that, but look at alcohol. What the fuck? Excuse my language, but that is not a substance that promotes growth, in my opinion. At least from personal experience, it hasn't. True Hallucinations is a good one, too, by Terence McKenna. And he talks more about it and his personal experiences with the mushroom. I think this is the one where he travels to the Amazon with his brother Dennis, and they partake of of psilocybin and also, I believe, ayahuasca. So, and then here's another one I want to share with you. It's called The Archaic Revival. It's more like him being, Terence McKenna being interviewed. And he talks about his experiences. He talks about his view of the world. And for me, it's an awesome book if you're just wanting to learn more about subjects like this. So, yeah, it's worth the read, all three of them. And on that note, now that you guys know my opinion about Christmas, that's just how I feel about it. And I used to get excited about it when I was a kid and go, oh, Santa's coming and all that. Because you're fed this story as a kid. It's just like a little game that parents play with their kids. Okay, it's Santa, it's this mysterious being that comes and brings these gifts. When it's really you wrapping these gifts at night, you know, hoping you got the right thing for the right person. I have a little bit of my tea here. So thank you everybody for listening today about my opinions and my viewpoint on Christmas. And there's so many different, I know there's so many holidays that are celebrated now that its origin, if people knew where it started, they'd be amazed, they'd be shocked even. So thank you everybody for joining me today for today's show, for Spirituality Talk. And thank you all the people that have recently subscribed, all the people that have subscribed. And thank you for liking and sharing my videos with your friends and family. Thank you for the kind comments and suggestions. And I will see you tomorrow, Friday. Friday is Dream Talk, so that's what I'm going to be talking about. Dreams. Alrighty, guys. Have a great day. Peace.